I used to be able to see it with my own eyes when other dads would follow their sons across the country. I used to ask myself, where's my dad? How come he's not following me? And that was the stumbling block. That was the door I could not get through. And that did stump my growth. It did stop me. My brother-in-law up the road, Ben's husband-to-be, he brought his printer down. I says, thank you, Lord, as he's printing off. And he says, I was meant to come here this afternoon. I says, I know you was. He says, no, because God has spoken to me that you need to forgive your dad. Me and him, and God had already prepared me to do this. God was challenging me, God was getting me right with it. Me and him, as the printer's printing, knelt on our floor, and he led me in a prayer of forgiveness towards my dad. And I felt a physical hand go into my belly and pull out all the hate, the anger, the bitterness towards my dad. And I collapsed on the floor and just sobbed and cried. I read that out and I watched my dad bow his head and start to cry in shame. At the end, I called anybody who wants to be prayed for, who wants to be strengthened. My dad came up, and for the first time I heard myself call him Dad. That's when I knew God had done a work in me. God challenged me after that, because there's always work after. It's not just a one it. God challenged me every Sunday, take my two children who were 6 and 8 at the time, after the church, take them and go and visit him. So every Sunday I'd done that. And to build that relationship with him. And I'm not saying it was easy. It was very hard. The flesh would kick in. I'd have to keep praying it through daily.
You've never heard your mom talk ill about your dad, which is something that we need to model in this generation, because you don't have to transfer your trauma to your children. The fact that you went through that experience doesn't mean your children must go through that experience. And we've seen cases where mother will start. Little did you know that you are instilling fear of marriage into the heart of that child, because the child will be like, is this what marriage is all about? If this is what marriage is, then I think when I grow up I won't get married. I'll look for a way to have a child somewhere and I won't get married. Yeah.
Syria, you're right, because that was what I said as a young boy. I said that to Tina. No, we're not having children. I'm not bringing children in this world. I'm not getting married.
That 30 years of your father being absent, who modeled a father figure to you?
Yes, that's so great. And I'm glad you mentioned that, and thank God for that. Is when I was growing up, remember I mentioned the lady next door who was white. Her husband was now, I called him Uncle Percy. He passed away about 7 years ago. Because what happens is when you haven't got a father, you will look for one. Today, young people are drawn into gangs. Young people are drawn into the wrong relationships because they're looking. We've got to steer our children. So Uncle Percy, before I was a Christian, when I became a Christian, there were 3 men of God at separate times who took up the mantle, and I purposely went to them. I attached myself to them. 3 men of God in the church.